Naming a baby is never easy. There are the lists of baby names, the family considerations, and trying to avoid naming your baby after people you don't like. For the royal family, baby names are even more serious, with considerations like, did someone in the 1500s with this name behead his wife? Or was someone with this name a Nazi sympathizer? When choosing the name of an heir to the throne, the royal family needs to ensure that the name is suitable for the future king or queen of the United Kingdom. The list of names they usually choose from is short, but surprisingly complicated to navigate. Or perhaps unsurprisingly, for an institution that's been around since sometime around 871 AD. In this video, we will be looking into some of the more common names held by monarchs and the complicated history surrounding them. The tradition of naming heirs to the British throne has resulted in a lot of repetition, with 8 Henrys, 8 Edwards, and 6 Georges, with one more to come. Of these names, only one is held by a royal in direct succession to the throne, George. One of the greatest strengths of name repetition, tradition, is also one of its greatest weaknesses, with names falling out of favor when used by an unsavory character. Henry, a name steeped in history and quite popular among early English monarchs, fell out of favor following the end of the reign of Henry VIII in 1547. For those who don't know, Henry VIII was best known for his turbulent romantic life. He would end up marrying 6 women during his lifetime. This required much strategic maneuvering in the religious climate of the time, including founding the Church of England to divorce his first wife, and creating charges of adultery in order to execute his second. The name Edward fell out of favor much more recently, with the abdication of Edward VIII in 1936. This abdication, portrayed in the movie The King's Speech, was the only voluntary abdication in the history of the British or English crown. Edward, like Henry VIII, fell victim to forbidden love, hoping to marry Wallis Simpson, a 2-time divorcee. Unlike Henry VIII, Edward was required to receive the permission of a parliament that was completely unsympathetic to his cause. While today this may seem unjust, this was an outright scandal in 1930s England. Cementing Edward VIII's negative reputation is his post-abdication tour of Germany in 1937 that would lead to private accusations of Nazi sympathizing. We are unlikely to see another King Edward any time in the near future. This leaves us with George, the name of the youngest future king of the United Kingdom and most commonly used untarnished name. George is largely associated with positive monarchs, including the Second World War's King George VI and First World War's King George V. While the young future king will presumably keep his birth name upon ascension to the throne, his great-great-grandfather George VI adopted the name George upon ascending to the throne. George VI was born Albert Frederick Arthur George and was known as Albert until his ascension. This was done largely in a move to emphasize stability and the continuance of the monarchy following the turbulence of Edward VIII's abdication. This made George VI one of very few monarchs of the United Kingdom or England to adopt a regnal name. The other notable exceptions to the tradition of keeping one's name upon ascension are Queen Victoria, who was born Alexandrina Victoria, and King Edward VII, who was also born Albert but adopted the name Edward to keep the name Albert associated with his father. While the vast majority of British monarchs have been men, some of the most notable and enduring monarchs, including the current one, have been the queens of the United Kingdom. Only 2 female monarch names have been used more than once, Elizabeth and Mary. Elizabeth is obviously best known for the current queen, Elizabeth II, the longest reigning monarch in British history. This title was taken from another strong queen, Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria oversaw much of the expansion of the British Empire throughout her long reign. While Britain's queens have lacked in quantity, they have more than made their mark on history through their strength and longevity. Other notable female monarch names include Anne and Jane. As time goes on, new names become popular and old names fall out of use. This societal name evolution does not seem to find its way into the royal line, however, and names are an important tie between the current iteration of the British royal family and the monarchs of the past. Eventually, new names may find their way into the family, but these traditional names will remain an impressive reminder of the longevity of the institution of the British crown.